This is another live radio link-up brought to you by the Government Communications, GCIS.
Good morning, South Africa. Good morning, Mzansi Africa. Molweni, Dumelanga, Absheni. And I hope you're doing very well and connecting at your favorite community radio station. This is another product brought to you by the Government Communications. And today we are going to be talking about building and transforming the economy. My name is Reiti Tahudi. And we are going to be breaking down a few things. And for those that would like to interact with us, please do get in touch with us on the WhatsApp number 065 935 5488. That is 065 935 5488. And of course, you can also call in on Pretoria 012 342 8248. Or you can also use another alternative number, which is also Pretoria 012 342 872. So as I indicated that we are going to be talking about anything that is about building and transforming the economy of South Africa. And you might know that the government has prioritized entrepreneurship and the advancement of small, medium and micro size enterprises as the catalyst to achieving economic growth and development in South Africa. We all know for a fact that small businesses are key contributors to the country's national development plan goals of reducing poverty, unemployment, as well as inequality. And small businesses are particularly important to the youth of this country and the vulnerable groups, as well as those that are facing high levels of poverty, as this has the potential to provide an income stream and support the many households that needs to be supported. And, government has established a dedicated department, which is the Department of Small Business Development, which is really about creating a conducive environment for small businesses and entrepreneurs to flourish in South Africa. And to help us unpack this particular topic, we have in the studios right here in Pretoria, we have the Minister of Small Business Development, Ms. Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. Minister, good morning and welcome here.
Good morning, Reiti, and good morning to all our listeners in their respective areas. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you very much, Minister. It's December. I don't know if you'll be taking a break, or ministers don't necessarily take a break in December.
You know, this thing of choosing jobs for unlearned people. So you don't have break. You work throughout the year. I mean, like, we don't have time. You say 4 o'clock and get clock.
Yeah.
So there's no December for us.
You won't be taking a short left to any of our beautiful scenic routes in South Africa.
Definitely, I am going to my home province, Mthatha.
Wow.
I'll be spending time with my family, but at least we can work virtually if there's a need for urgent things, but at least for Christmas.
So we are
Minister. We love
that. Minister, just to start the conversation, I don't think a lot of people actually know the mandate of the Department of Small Business Development. There's no one else, who can actually explain it better than yourself.
Well, the mandate of the department is to lead and coordinate an integrated approach to develop and promote entrepreneurship in our country. Of course, entrepreneurship for us cuts across the different segments, your micro, small, medium enterprises and the cooperatives of our country. But of course, to ensure that there is an enabling environment that allows for support of the entrepreneurs, which is mainly legislative and policy focused. Yeah. So basically, yonke lento senzayo is just to make sure that entrepreneurs can thrive in their own country.
Mm-hmm. No, that sounds quite interesting, Minister. How long has the department been in place at this stage?
Should I say you can take a guess?
I would say around 8 years.
No, we're older than that.
Oh.
Okay, we're older than that. With 10 years
Yeah.
this year.
Wow.
We were established in 2014, in May 2014, so we turned 10. When you guys were busy preparing for voting,
Yeah.
we couldn't even have an opportunity to celebrate our 10th
Wow.
anniversary. So we've been around.
Yeah.
We're not too old, but yeah,
10
we
years.
are there. 10.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Minister. I think
Thank you so much.
10 years is definitely a milestone, and I can see that the future looks quite bright. But tell us, Minister, about the extent of small businesses in South Africa, and perhaps you can also touch on what is their potential.
There's great potential for small businesses in South Africa. In each and every corner that you go to, there's lots of innovation. I mean, like we come from celebrating the Entrepreneurship Week now in November.
Yes.
Great innovations. I mean, now in terms of the industry celebrating lots of work that has been done, because that's where you get to see, because we're not everywhere
Yeah.
as ministers, but we get an opportunity when those times come. But most importantly is to say, as much as there's lots of talent in South Africa, there's lack of support towards entrepreneurship. And this time, I'm not going to only be talking about government.
Yeah.
I'm talking about support from the locals. Because entrepreneurs are innovators, and they never innovate if they don't see a challenge or a problem.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs provide solutions to the problems that people face,
Absolutely.
which means they know who's the target market by the time they innovate. But then guess what happens? Most of them, as they come up with the great innovations, of course, they'll struggle here and there about the access to finance and other opportunities. But it becomes so sad when they don't need money. They have everything, but our own South Africans are not supporting them.
Yeah. So that
pains
could possibly be one of the challenges that they are facing. But what solutions would we have as government? And Minister, I don't know if there's also an interaction with the private sector. Perhaps you can touch on that. If you are seeing, private sector being engaged with these businesses or becoming part of these businesses as well.
One of the interventions that we have made, as I said, we turned 10. When we turned 10, we felt there's a need for us to engage with the ecosystem. Because one of the gaps that we identified was that as government, we've been inward looking, thinking that we can solve every problem that entrepreneurs face. And reality is that we cannot.
Yeah.
As you know, that government contributes very little to the GDP, 30%. 70% lies within the hands of the private sector, which therefore, as a department that has a mandate to lead that coordinated approach, you ought to make sure that you work with the entire ecosystem. Now, the entire ecosystem, it means the first people that you must be going to is the big business. Because, as I said, 70% of the GDP is within their hands. It means when you create interventions, you can't do so outside what they are doing as the big business, which is why through our National Integrated Small Enterprise Development Framework that we have canvassed, and it has received sufficient majority amongst the critical stakeholders, we then agreed that let's take a sector-based approach. Let's bring everyone to the party. Let government play its part in terms of ensuring that there are legislations that are protecting entrepreneurs in our own country. Hence, you saw us amending the Small Enterprises Act, which gave effect to the establishment of the Ombudsman, a champion for entrepreneurs, because we've seen lots of victimization around SMMEs, whether it's by those that are subcontracting them or government itself, when government does not pay them in the required 30 days. I mean, like, they don't even have to have 30 days. Because if you do other payments, why can't you do it weekly or bi-weekly?
Absolutely.
Understanding the challenges that entrepreneurs go through. So that amendment that we put in the Small Enterprise Act then enabled us. As I'm speaking to you now, Parliament is busy with the recruitment process, because we had said at least by 1st April, let's have the Ombudsman. Now, entrepreneurs or aspirant entrepreneurs, just know you're going to have someone who's going to be in your corner, who's going to take on board everyone who's trying to undermine the great work that you are doing. The second aspect is this that talks to business development support. We've been providing all these interventions, but they were not coordinated. Our entrepreneurs needed to go to the office of CEDA, needed to go to CIFA, and all the other people that we have. Then we said, what is it that we're not doing right? Because we do have an appreciation that time is everything for entrepreneurs. Now, for them to be spending it walking around, having to drive, you're really taking away from them a lot. So through the same act, we then called for the establishment of one agency, a one-stop center for the entrepreneurs, which is why you saw us bringing together CEDA, CIFA, and the CBDA, which is the Cooperatives Bank Development Agency that used to be under the National Treasury. We have one agency now that we call CEDA, the Small Enterprise Finance and Development Agency. It provides the interventions holistically.
Wow.
If you're coming for business development support, you've came to the right place. If you then need financial support, you get that. But the beauty of it is when you come for business development support to say, I'm looking for incubation, I have this idea, and then they take you through that process until you develop your prototype. Then they're able to monitor your growth and be able to say, now you qualify for the financial support. So we're bringing that integration in the entire life of the entrepreneurs. And again, it has been enabled by the legislation. That's why we said, government, play your part. Use the law, because the authority that you have is over the law. The other aspect is that people, mostly entrepreneurs, they don't have access to finance. There's lots of requirements when people must access funding, both from the banking sector and the DFIs themselves. Whilst we, our government, have that responsibility of developing entrepreneurs, development finance institutions, but not many entrepreneurs can access those because of the stringent processes that we expect from them, which is what most people call red tape. Because it is the red tape that makes entrepreneurs not to be able to access the resources that we're talking about. So we then developed a funding policy for MSMEs and cooperatives in South Africa. In that funding policy, because it's not only to look at certain things in terms of the finance, but it also to say we do recognize that there's a credit gap, as estimated by the IMF studies, to say South Africa has a credit gap of 350 billion rands. What do we do? Because we know government does not have that money. Then we said, let us establish the fund of funds, which we will be launching with Minister Tau of DTIC. Well, we are renaming it to being the transformational fund, because we are deliberate on what we want the fund to do. There's been so much ignorance in developing the township and village economy. So the funds must come and complement that. But whilst we are developing the model, we're looking at two aspects of the fund, the development fund and the commercial fund, so that the government can also get a return on investment in terms of the actual interest, whilst you are boosting the development of entrepreneurs to be able to go access whatever service they need, not only from government, but also to banking institutions.
I wanted to check, Minister, the uptake, particularly from both the private sector in terms of participating in this process that you are going, as well as uptake from businesses in South Africa. And are you seeing a large number of people in the townships, or are you also seeing people from the villages, in the rural development or rural areas of South Africa, really taking interest in this process?
There are those that are taking interest, let me say upfront, but there are challenges that surround them that you would see even those that have started, they then give up. For example, the anti-competitive behavior, the crimes that are in our area, because when we conducted a study, it was found that the number one reason people cite that it is difficult to do business in townships, they cited crime. Finance was the third aspect, actually, that they spoke about. They spoke about crime, they spoke about infrastructure that is poor, because when the infrastructure is poor, it therefore means that it's costly to the business that wants to invest. Now, it's worse if you are a small business. Then, as I said, the access to finance. So these are the things that we said through the National Integrated Small Enterprise Development Framework, the NISET in short. We said, let's bring on the ecosystem players. Let's use the legislative prescripts that we have. For example, we have the BBBE Act in South Africa, which has a component or a particular clause that talks to enterprise supplier development, that corporates must contribute at least 3%. Of their annual turnover towards enterprise supplier development, which is what we'll be building on as we establish the transformational fund. But to also remodel how the ESD is designed and spent. Now, if you look at most companies, they just do Abo Mandela Day, which is your social responsibility, but we want enterprise development.
Absolutely.
And if we invest in that enterprise development, it means what we have spoken about with the big businesses to say, you've got to learn to unbundle your value chains. Because if you've put them through an enterprise program, unbundle the valuation so that they can be able to become your suppliers in whatever products that you are producing as the company. And they have all committed. They do see the need to invest in small businesses. Without them taking them over, we'll be here to protect them, because others, they invest in them so that they can then acquire them. Of course, that's business language, although we understand.
No, that's what happens in the business world. But I'm happy that you've got a department like your DTIC, which actually looks into those anti-competitive behaviors that you've alluded to. And of course, we are still in a discussion with the Minister of Small Business Development. That is Miss Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. And don't forget to be in touch with us on our WhatsApp number, 065-935-5488. And of course, our studio line at 012-342-848. And the other alternative number that you can use is 012-342-8272. We have about 3 voice notes that I would like us to go to, Minister.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Peter Ayman. I'm from Kava, Western Cape, here in Masikama area. And I have a company, PE Style Workers. I'm doing steel work and also CFD, CIDB grading, and also a road work I'm doing. But all my papers is right, but it's difficult for me to get a tender of supply for tender. But and I wonder if she can give me information. Who can I talk to? He can help me because I'm struggling for I'm struggling for finances and also for stuff. So I have a workshop here in Clover, but from now on I close my workshop because I don't have money to pay the rent. So that is why I get see information on the group here on the website. Sorry, I'm talking now on WhatsApp, but I like to know if she can help me because I read about she is support small business information. So I like to know if she can give me information to help me. Okay then.
Thank you.
My name is
Peter.
Wilfred Nzimande from Richards Bay in KwaZulu Natal. So currently, I'm not employed. However, I try to earn a living based to the fact that I'm a hawker, meaning that I'm selling vegetables in the streets. But unfortunately, I try to find the capital so that I can boost my business, so that and also my business can be booming like other businesses, because in our country we are facing with such a huge rates of unemployment. Therefore, I need any financial assistance so that I can boost my business. So as I've said that I'm a hawker, so I'm living from hand to mouth, and I'm beyond the poverty line. Therefore, I'm asking, I've tried by all means to even knock to my local municipality, but unfortunately, I've never received any feedback or positive response in regards to my assistance. So what I'm asking in this regard is to be assisted so that I can continue with my business. And further than that, my primary objectives is based to the fact that once the business uh, is booming, then it can also able to create the lot of job opportunities for the sake of unemployed people like me, because there's a huge rate of unemployment. Once my business is started to be booming, then how it can create the job opportunities for the sake of the multitude of people. For example, if I can employ 2 people, now it is crystal clear that everybody can able to earn a living. So this is the only way, from my own perspective point of view, that we can alleviate poverty among ourselves, because we cannot rely on a government alone, but it is upon us as a community, as fellow community members, to assist each other.
A very good morning, Minister. Thank you for the opportunity to be visible to you. As an Executive Director of the Pedal Business Cycle, a non-profit organization based and operational in Mpumalanga, our focus area is on supporting ECASI-based small and informal enterprises. We aim to revive approximately 5 to 7,000 spaza shops and informal traders businesses in Mpumalanga. We have established partnerships with key suppliers, including Macro for inventory, as well as eCoca for inventory management system, the POS. Additionally, we are working with institutions like SAPC for television licenses and insurance companies for bill payments, bringing essential services directly from them to the people within these shops. Our comprehensive approach, Minister, we are looking at partnering with WNR-CETA to provide training and skills development programs for shop owners as well as their employees. We will be also looking at partnering with the Department of Small Business Development in order to refurbish and upgrade the shops. We will also be looking at partnering with Industrial Development Corporation, IDC, and MEGA to support the industrialization of ECASI economies. We will also be partnering with the First National Bank to bring banking facilities inside these shops, promoting financial inclusivity as well as convenience. We're also looking at partnering with ECASI households to produce and supply chicken, vegetables, as well as eggs to the shops, promoting local economies development as well as food security. We are committed, Minister, to making a positive impact in the lives of ECASI communities. We are men and women at work. Minister, I'm available at this number 064 839 3464. 064 839 3464. My name is Fender Kumalo from the Pedals Business Cycle in Mpumalanga. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Mr. Kumalo Mtuma, as well as Mr. Wilfred Nzimande, all the way from KZN, and of course Peter, who's also called, in fact, sent us a voice note from the Western Cape. Minister, what I really picked up from these three voice notes is that people are looking for assistance. And there seemed to be also confusion in terms of how do we align with municipalities. Maybe as you ponder over these questions or statements that have been made by these people, you can also just tell us to say, how do we align with this municipality? I know you touched on the new agency that you have established, but there's also that element of municipalities. How do we align with those?
Thank you so much, Rachel. The first thing that we do as a new government, we had approved or adopted the DDM model, which is what we are working on as government in order to make sure that there's synergies within the different spheres of government. Now, as the portfolio, most of our products are offered at the local level. If it is not through our agency, it is through the LED unit of the municipality. For example, as I listened to Wilfred, the support that he needs as a hawker is the support that we provide. We have a program that we call the Informal and Micro Enterprise Development Program, IMEDP, which is targeted at supporting informal traders and micro businesses,
Yes.
of which hawkers fall under. It provides equipment and support that goes up to 15,000 rands worth. So what Wilfred, for example, can do is to go to the nearest local municipality, the LED unit, to say, please, I'm here to apply for the IMEDP program that is under the Department of Small Business Development. If he's not going to the municipality, he can go to the nearest CEDA or CIFA office, as now the offices are still standalones because we'll be integrating the buildings next year. So they still operate differently in terms of the buildings. So you can go to the nearest CEDA or CIFA office to say, I'm here to apply for the IMEDP support. But just one thing on Wilfred. Bossy says, I'm unemployed. You are not unemployed, Wilfred. You are self-employed.
I would agree with you 100%.
You are trading, which is why I took interest from what you were asking, because already you've taken a step to say you want to make a difference. You're not going to wait for government, and you have an appreciation that government is not going to do everything by its own. So do reach out, because we want to produce so many of you. We would want to see you graduating to owning a fruit and veg. But when you do that, make sure that you work with local farmers, because as I said, we're working with local economic development units or the LED units. It's mainly for that, to ensure that our money revolves or rotates amongst ourselves in the areas where we are trading in. Now, going to Peter. Peter tells a great story with a bit of frustration. He's involved in the steelwork industry. He has registered a company for construction. He has a grading for CIDP, for CIDB, but he's struggling to get tenders. The first thing, Peter, don't focus on tenders. We're promoting entrepreneurship. Let tenders be an opportunity, but build your business to respond. For example, as you're in the construction sector, make sure that you promote yourself even to other private investors and property developers. All we can do is to support you. If you are applying for financial services, as you're saying, you had a workshop and then you ran out of cost. Unfortunately, we don't pay for rentals as part of the business development support. But what we do, I just didn't get which area exactly in Western Cape, though.
It's in Claro, I think, yeah.
And yes, what we also do, we provide the shared economic infrastructure facility, which are buildings that we build for small entrepreneurs in those areas, including workshops, to make sure that they can come and utilize those to do whatever that they are doing in terms of the trade they do. Then at least they get to pay at a lesser rate. I'm not sure if we have already one there, but you can go to your municipality to find out. And if there's none, the municipality must apply, because, again, we work with municipalities. It doesn't mean that we address every building. I know right now I'll be talking about the application, but that's going to take not less than 18 months to build.
Yeah.
And you are looking for an intervention now. But government does have buildings that are underutilized. If you go to your local economic development unit, the LED unit, you can apply for that support. Alternatively, you can come and apply for the township and rural enterprise fund that we are running under TREP, which goes up to 1 million rand. If it is equipment that you are looking for, if your business is making a turnover of less than 3 million rands, we're able to buy equipment for you that goes up to 250,000 rands.
Wow.
And then if you need more now, and then you go, and then we introduce you to a blended financing, which is a component of a grant and a loan. So you can see which is best that you can do. With lots of programs, you can reach out to our website, or if it is not clear, you can go to CEDA and see how best you can work with others in order to make sure, whilst you are addressing your immediate need, but you find a sustainable solution, which is what I spoke about in terms of the utilization of the buildings that are there.
Yeah.
Lastly, Ubabu Kumar, you're doing well. I like the fact that you followed everything that we said we're doing around spaza shops. I'm listening to you saying you want to partner with us on this, and I'm like, he listened to the T on the things that we said we're going to do. We are busy with registration. I just missed that. If you are assisting these spaza shops, to be registered first. And now, just talking to all the listeners, one of the challenges that you're faced with is the fact that most of our businesses at the local level, especially Ekasi, are not owned by South Africans. Right now, we're busy with registration. We are going to be closing it on the 17th. But the reports indicate that only 5% of the registered numbers that we have are owned by South Africans, which means as part of the work that you are doing, do encourage locals to take over spaza shops, to open them because there's a need for the products that they are providing. The second aspect is that it is good that you want to partner, you know, your stakeholders, hence we talk about wholesale and retail. They do call out for people to submit applications for the training programs that they have, but also you can always reach out to the LED unit again and CEDA to see if they can partner with you. I know they have a database of the organizations that are training. You've got to make sure that you are accredited though, because we're looking at quality training that must be provided to the spaza shops that we are working with and any other township businesses that are there. I like the partnerships that you have, SABC, Macro, and everyone. But now, if I am going to focus on rebuilding and development of the township and rural economy, I also need you to partner with the farmers. Because right now, what we are doing, we are making our spaza shops and other people to continue being resellers of the products. But if we also want to empower our communities that must be able to support the spaza shops, let's make sure that we know Uma Kumalo who's planting vegetables, we can buy the cabbage from her and we sell it in our spaza shops. So in your training, do include those that South Africans must be able to to take interest in running spaza shops. It is an important business, and as long as there's partners like you, they can really go far. The partnership that you spoke about on infrastructure, we announced the 500 million. That's why we are highlighting it. We are waiting for the results of the registration process, how many South African owned spaza shops have been registered, how many are compliant, how many are non-compliant, because we're only going to step in for those that are non-compliant, wherein the inspectors will be sent to check everything, and then they'll come back and say, this building does not conform to the standards, this and that does not conform, and then we intervene based on that. So thank you so much, Babu Kumar, for the great work that you are doing. But as I said, hook up with the local municipality as the LED unit and our CEDA next to your area.
Absolutely. We can only wish you luck, but of course, help is available. We are talking to the Minister of Small Business Development, Ms. Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams. Minister, you touched on this issue of spaza shops. I know it's a very, painful thing that we are dealing with in South Africa. And I've got a question here from one of the listeners from Freiheit listening at Abaquluzi FM. That is Mr. Zippo Zulu. And he's saying, morning, Minister. I would like to detour a bit from what is being discussed, but ask the Minister to render her advice on our people to stop opening businesses for foreign people and how it will affect them in the long run. And he is saying, oops, this thing is not moving now. But that is essentially what he's saying, Minister. That how do we stop people from opening businesses for foreigners?
Probably let me start here, Zippo, as I respond to your question. That South Africans at all times are expected to respect the rule of law. South Africa is a constitutional state, and there's a constitution that guides all of us. I know Section 22 of the Constitution talks to the right to trade, which is what most people misinterpret, or when they want to be mischievous, utilize to justify why you would find many people trading in South Africa, even if they're not supposed to. That clause goes to a particular element, which is the last part of the clause, which says that trade may be regulated. And the regulated part talks to the bylaws that the municipalities put in place, talks to the policies that we put in place as the respective departments. Now, if we're talking about citizenship, which refers to the non-South African or the foreigner that you're talking about, anyone who's coming to South Africa, for whatever business, they go through the Department of Home Affairs. Home Affairs has 14 permits that they issue, of visas that they issue. Now, specifically for business, they provide a business visa, and any non-South African that want to trade or invest in South Africa has to at least pay or commit to an investment of 5 million rands for you to then get the visa. That's the Immigration Act,
Yeah.
Section 15. Now, Section 42 of the Immigration Act takes it further, not only to look at non-South Africans,
Yes.
talks to South Africans in relation to what Sipho is talking about. What is it that South Africans must not do to assist illegal foreigners? And it is clear that South Africans are in breach of the law if they assist any illegal foreigner that is in our country to trade, or they give them space to rent, or they register business on their behalf, or they employ them in their businesses. So if you are doing any of those, you must know you are committing a crime.
Yeah.
And as we are busy with the registration of the businesses, we'll also be doing other inspections. But on top of that, not only that we will take you to jail because you're committing an offense, SARS will be after you because the business is registered under your name.
Yeah.
If the person that you registered for is not paying tax, you will be liable for that amount that you must pay. Now, fellow South Africans, I understand that you are looking at the fact that you have properties, so you're making profit yourself. We're not saying don't make profit with your property, but we're saying make sure that you are compliant in doing business, which means if you are leasing space for anyone in your area who is a non-South African, the first thing you ought to do is to go to the Department of ask for the documentation of this person, if he has the right to trade here, and then you take that to Home Affairs so that you also protect your own family.
Yes.
Because if someone is here illegally, you don't know what they can do.
Absolutely.
And it becomes unfortunate when we can't even catch those people. So we don't want you to collude with people who are here undermining our country and therefore putting our independence and sovereignty at risk. Those that are registering business for foreigners, they must know it is not the right thing. And as I said, we are registering. The next level of registration is when we come to inspect your business. As you said, you are owning it. So we don't want to be taking South Africans to jail. This is why we're emphasizing that South Africans must respect themselves, respect the laws of their country, protect the future of their children by making sure that they do everything right. Non-South Africans, they have a responsibility to respect our laws just like they respect their own country's laws. There's a reason they live in their countries now. If they are given permits to be here in South Africa, well and good. But as I said, only 2 visas allow for trade for non-South Africans. The business visa, and when you're an asylum seeker, not for every country, there's listed countries that we grant status of that can trade. Not everyone. But you have had me on the business visa, 5 million. There's no spaza shop of 5 million rands. We all know that. So those that are asylum seekers, they are the ones that are then given an opportunity to trade. But again, the municipality is clear in the draft bylaws that have been issued by the Minister of COGTA to say municipality must therefore set a quota of how much can they license to non-South Africans, which means they look at what they have. Is there a need to include other people? Of course, respecting the constitution and the laws that we have. If there's certain industries, they feel like, okay, here we can give 2% because according to our documents by Home Affairs, because municipality does not know who's in South Africa, it is Home Affairs that knows. When Home Affairs says, in this area, we've put so many refugees, therefore you can be able. But remember, those that are asylum seekers or refugees in our country, they're here for a particular period. So they can be given a license to trade for 5 years if they're here for 12 months. So all of these things, it's important that our people understand so that even if one says, I'm an asylum seeker, like I've seen in eThekwini when I was doing the visits, I met lots of the non-South Africans who were there to register, and they're all saying, no, I am an asylum seeker. I'm like, when did you arrive here in South Africa? Hey, I can't remember. And then the other one says in 1996. The other one says, and then you begin to think, so all these years?
They've been seeking asylum.
And I'm like, how often have you gone home? No, I went home and come back. How do you go home if you're a refugee? It tells that there's been something wrong that has been done. And this is why we want to urge all South Africans, all, those that are employed by government that are enabling the system and those that are housing those people to make sure that we protect our own country, because one day we will wake up and we will not have a country. People would have taken over because we would be reckless. One thing I'm certain about, those that are here legally, they know they wouldn't want to violate their license terms, their visa terms. Because the minute they violate those by doing anything contrary to what they are here for, they know they'll be taken back home and those visas will be recalled. The people who continue to do wrong and asking other people to register on their behalf are those ones that are here illegally. We are engaging with their embassies to say, please, all governments and countries must take responsibility of their people.
Absolutely.
The Department of Home Affairs will continue deporting those that are supposed to be here.
No, they definitely have to take responsibility, Minister. We have quite a high unemployment rate, especially amongst the youth in South Africa. And one of the options that you've also touched on earlier on is to create your own job by becoming an entrepreneur. But what advice can you give people who want to become entrepreneurs? I know you touched on where they can get assistance in terms of developing their business plan and accessing funding. But what sort of advice can you give, especially to young people? Some of them have just finished writing matric. Some of them have finished tertiary, their time at tertiary institutions, and there's just no jobs out there. What sort of advice can you give to such people, Minister?
Let me start with the ones that have gone to school first. When you go to school, you acquire knowledge of a particular sector that you enrolled for, which means you understand what is happening in that particular sector. Therefore, all you have to do is to use that knowledge that you have to make business of it, not to wait for employment. And this is where most learned people miss it. You find people on the street poles, I'm a BCom graduate, I'm unemployed. At the same time, we're talking about entrepreneurs that are struggling, including hawkers, who most of the time are our parents or our relatives. They're struggling with compliance that we're talking about. They need the skills of the BCom graduates, but BCom graduates don't associate themselves, although they started BCom's commerce. Although they did that, but they're not associating themselves with what is happening around their own area to say, this is the challenge in the school, this is what I studied, and therefore I avail my services. We are supporting lots of graduates that have transitioned into business by providing their knowledge to support the entrepreneurs that we have. We were talking about Spaza Shop earlier.
Yes.
One of the things that we said we're going to do is to get unemployed graduates in the built environment. They're unemployed. We need building inspectors. We're bringing them on board because these businesses have to be inspected. Yes. There are graduates who are sitting at home again. They've studied environmental health. We are complaining about the capacity of the municipalities. We're bringing them on board. And our intention is not only for them to do what they studied for, but is to also see if they can take interest in running a business. But when you bring them to say, okay, you qualified, I have my spaza shop here, they don't know how to do this. They just thought of waking up and then I had 50 rands, I went and bought this, and now I'm trading. But they need you to assist them because you went to school to study for that. So let us use education for its intended purposes, acquiring knowledge, not for certificate, and that knowledge must be used to solve the challenges that we have. Metrics, all those that are sitting at home, the first thing I encourage, go to school, further your studies.
Yes.
TVETs are there to provide you with skills. South Africa needs a skills-based industry more than philosophers. Yes, we need policy people that must go to university and all of that, but we need skills. Every time there's a challenge at home, a roof is leaking, it's an artisan that must do that. You have a problem with electricity, and it's an artisan that will do that. Let us respect the skills that we must invest in and therefore be able to solve every problem. No artisan goes to bed without doing anything. Those that are there that are saying they're struggling, they must come to us. We assist them with buying equipment for them so that they can address their challenges. Now, what advice should I give to ordinary people? Now, I said I'm starting with those that have gone to school.
Yes.
Then there are people who have God-given talent that they can wake up and do something, like they can make clothes. They're not designers. Even those that are designers, they're not entrepreneurs, but they're just making a living. And this is when we say it is important that if you have an idea, hook up with the nearest incubator. Because that's where your idea, you can be assisted by processing it, all that ideation phase to say, oh, this thing of yours can work. But you stay in an incubator, don't come and rush for money.
Yes.
Because you don't have a business yet. The first thing in business is not to look for registering a company. Because once you start by registering a company, you're going to be looking for a tender. And we're not building tenderpreneurs. As I said, tender is an opportunity that you can participate in as an entrepreneur. The first thing is to invest in the business. If you have a business idea, reach out to CEDA, ask for the incubation centers that are around, and then you share it with them, and then you let them take through that process of building on that idea. And as I said, we have different interventions of taking you through, because at least in our incubation centers, we take you up to 2 years. I know you'll be saying I'm struggling, but we do incentivize those that are in the incubators to make sure that they are transport money. But you are working on your business. If you stayed at school for 12 years, to get matric, you went to university, 16 years, you've been patient. You can't then be impatient about 3 years. And if you're investing on your future and sustainable business that you can create for yourself and the next generations that you have.
That's definitely a great advice, Minister, that you've been at school to get to matric for 12 years and went to varsity for 4 years, and you are waiting to be employed while you can still create your own employment. Minister, I've got 4 voice notes that I want us to take.
Minister, what's the Department of Small Business doing to support and fund sponsorships in order to ensure that this sector is owned by South Africans? It's Dienzo Rampedi listening via Mpagati FM in Randfontein.
Good morning, Minister. Well, what is the department's strategy to support women in small business sector? This is Batabile Mokhoba from Matlake listening via Umpagati FM.
Good morning to the host and the minister. I'm Ayanda and I'm selling snack hampers. So most of shops, like those big shops, like I'm not sure if I have to mention them, like Macro, when you go and buy your stock, they will tell you that if you want a discount, you have to be registered. So my question is, how do we register? How do we register as a small business?
Hi guys, okay, my name is Dennis Kumalo. I have a poultry farm, based in Tembisa, and the farm, I'm currently running it at my place, whereby it's not a bigger place to run a poultry farm, and it's a neighborhood. It's not really good to run a poultry or farm where there's a community surrounding you. So I wanted to know if there's a way that I can apply for funding, obviously to get a bigger place, or, to rent out or to lease, a bigger place, because that hectares or a bigger space would require even more rent. So that's where obviously I would need funding. You understand? So the business is currently doing well. So it's doing well, but not well that I can afford to pay out, 20 or 50 or 30,000 rand. So what do I do? What are the steps I need to take?
Thank you very much to all the voice notes that we have received. We've received 2 from Otlakeng, as well as 2 from Ayanda and Mr. Kumalo. Minister, I'm looking at the time. I can see that it's a very important topic. It probably need more than an hour, but maybe just to take a bite on this topic that people have raised. But as you do that, perhaps you can also touch on the question around how can small businesses contribute towards growing the economy and creating the job. I know you touched on the role of the private sector. Perhaps you can just emphasize on that as well.
Thank you so much. We do provide funding for sponsorships. As things stand, we've been running a 15,000 rand scheme for sponsorship owned by South Africans. We have changed that. We have remodeled, as I said, we launched the 500 million rands to assist South African-owned sponsorships. The support that we're providing there is both for infrastructure and for stock. So those that are South Africans and that are looking for running their spaza shops, they can reach out. We're going to announce once we get the numbers in terms of the registered numbers of the spaza shops. We're going to announce the criteria because we want to check everything. Then you can apply. You're going to be applying through SIFA and through and through NEF when you apply for that. And as I said, the stock, it varies. It starts at 40,000 rands worth of stock, but then on the others, it depends on the assessment. But South Africans must own the spaza shop first, because as we want to keep them in business, we are also negotiating the bulk buying that the other lady was talking about. We're negotiating bulk buying. Whoever that will be sourcing from has to have an appreciation that we are going to introduce local products, and then also the bulk buying that they must give support to our people. Then we do provide women support. Out of the funds that we disperse, 40% goes to women-owned businesses. So you can just go and apply for any fund. As you are a woman, 40% of everything that we have goes to women. We don't have a dedicated women fund yet. We're still working on it, as we'll be launching the transformational fund. The poultry farm, you need land, if I heard you very well, because you're saying you're operating in an environment that is not conducive. The land bank does assist with that. You can also hook up with the Department of Agriculture, including the municipality, because at times they do have the land that is available that you can use. And when you have the land, if you need equipment, then you can come to us. We do have the small manufacturing fund that we run. It goes up to 15 million rand with a grant of 30%, which is 4.5 million to the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs, small businesses have a critical role to play in terms of growing the economy. The reason our economy is not doing well, is growing slowly, is because we have not paid attention in investing in small businesses. The reason we're talking about a South Africa that has a high unemployment rate is because we've not invested a lot in small businesses. Now, through small businesses, you are able to diversify even the economy. As we have set for ourselves, one of the targets, a priority or an apex priority as the GNU, to say we're going to make sure that we build an inclusive growth. If you're talking about inclusivity, then you can therefore leave the entrepreneurs. That's why everybody talking about the importance of small businesses in growing the economy, because it's many businesses. If you look at the spaza shops, the hair salons, the billions of rands that are coming out of those industries, but it is what South Africans are not taking interest in, or those that are interested, again, because of unfair competitive practices, which is what we are trying to deal with, to make sure that everybody is compliant so that South Africans can get what they deserve in their own country. Now, if you do that, then you're going to see there's going to be change in the economy, because all those hundreds of billions we're talking about, they will be circulating among South Africans, and therefore these South Africans will be able to pay for tax, including the rates for the municipalities that they must pay for. It means it's going to improve the quality of the performance of the municipality, because when the municipality is getting revenue, they're able to provide infrastructure and other services to the communities or the residents that they serve. That's why we're also looking at improving infrastructure by building or utilizing existing buildings to provide facilities for small businesses so that we reduce the burden from them, because it is costly when they have poor infrastructure. So small businesses play a critical role in growing the economy. This is why we said we're not going to be apologetic. Let the law favor small businesses. Let government play its part. Let the private sector come to the party. But the most critical component are the people of South Africa that must support those small businesses so that they can thrive. The brands that we love so much, I know people love brands when they clothe, they love brands when they go to eat food, on the drinks that they get and all of that. They started small. They had somebody who had confidence in them. That's why they are big today. You know about them. You wouldn't have known if other people did not take an initiative and say, I'm taking interest, I'm going to invest here, by buying from them. So South Africans, let's buy local. Let's support Abomafaku who are in our areas making clothes. Stop buying fake products because they're destroying our economy. The minute you go and buy umbhaco or your Zulu attire from Chinatown and any other fake product or fake selling area, you're destroying the economy, therefore destroying the small businesses, and the economy will not grow, and therefore it means your next generation may not be able to get jobs as we see currently things are happening. So please, let's support and stop buying fake.
Absolutely. Fake is expensive, in fact, Minister, if you look at it. Minister, in closing, we South Africa is celebrating 30 years of freedom, 30 years of democracy. And what are some of the achievements in the past 30 years of democracy in developing small businesses that you have seen? I know that you've mentioned that the department is just 10 years, but I'm sure there is a lot of achievements that we've seen. And again, maybe you can also touch on the programs that you are doing specifically for the military veterans. Because a country, I do believe that a country that does not take care of their military veterans who've been there to protect, the sovereignty of the country and ensure that we are all safe. 30 years of democracy, how have we fared as a country, and what programs do you have? Just under 1 minute, Minister.
Well, we have done so much to improve the lives of the entrepreneurs, but we realize that we've not done much. This is why we said, let us change how we're doing things in order to invest a lot in the entrepreneurs. Now, what this means is what I spoke about, the coordinated approach, which is what we didn't have, because we have banks, we have everyone who's doing things, but in a silo way.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to address, to make sure that there's impact, and we're not only giving to the same people. Let's spread, let's make sure that the pie is shared. On the Inyamazana funding scheme, which is meant for the military veterans, we're providing support from 50,000 to 15 million rand, because we know that military veterans are skilled.
Yes.
They do not only go to war. They learn, most of them are artisans, they can run certain businesses. So we want them to invest that knowledge in developing our economy and imparting knowledge to the new entrepreneurs that we have in our country. We also provide non-financial support. Through the Inyamazana funding scheme, the non-financial support goes up to 350,000 to train them on the business aspect now.
Oh, yes.
Because others were trading, they have the skills, they were doing things, but the business focus they didn't have. So we're training them on 350,000. And this is one scheme that is not performing, let me say it. When I'm assessed, and when we're looking at financial performance, this is one scheme that is not performing. We urge all military veterans to make sure that they really take opportunity by applying for this fund. It is meant for you. It's not only an appreciation of the role you played for us to have the democracy that we have, but it's meant to make sure that you impart the skills and the knowledge and also develop the economy that we have.
Great stuff. Well done, Minister, on that. As I indicated, that a country that does not look after its military veterans, it's heading for a disaster. And that's all we have with Minister. I wish we had more time to talk about many other things, but I think we'll try and bring you back, to have more discussions around these important issues. And thank you very much to all the radio stations that connected with us today. We thank you, and may the good Lord bless you all.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all. Keep on supporting small business as you go and enjoy your Christmas.
Thank you very much, Minister.